What's up, YouTube? Dedrock here, bringing the video today, and today we're going to be going over the tier list, or my tier list. Not very many people do this anymore, but I decided I want to kind of go over what the format and like my favorite way to put stuff is in tiers, just to get a good representation of like what I think is going to be able to top regionals and what's going to be topping YCS events and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like this is the best way to go about it. Yeah, for me anyway. Not everybody will agree with it, and that's okay. This isn't to be taken 100% like perfect. This is just what I think, and it's just, you know, what I think is good. So we'll go over it. Here we go. In the first place, I think this is no shock to anyone here, but Skystrikers are one of the best decks. These are in no particular order, guys, but Skystriker is one of the best decks, if not the best deck. I don't think it is the best deck. It didn't win the event. There's a couple reasons behind that, but we had about 12 Skystrikers in top cut, so that's actually not even quite half, which is saying a lot. Obviously the other, like, just Firewall got really hit, and then a few of like the power cards for it as well. So Skystrikers just got untouched, left the ban list, and no, kind of everybody expected for this deck to be, you know, one of the best decks, so it's no surprise to see this here. And then in the second spot I have here is Altergeist. Now, this could be in tier 2, just because it only had about 3 tops at the YCS, but I do think this deck is powerful, and I think it's interesting to see how well it can do. I definitely don't think it's going to be taking too many more tops than ever, like in like the 5 spots, so that's it. And then 3, I have Thunder Dragon. I think this deck is good because of Colossus. It can do quite a few things. People are starting to refine the builds and make it better, so now we actually have the Brilliant Fusion engine and stuff like that being put into it, and people are really starting to make this deck a lot better than what it is. I still don't think it's the greatest deck of the format, and that's just because like it doesn't really do that much. It doesn't interact with your opponent too much, other than like Colossus and then maybe a few of the other cards you run that are not Thunder Dragon cards, but there's not a whole bunch of interaction there with your opponent. It's kind of made as like a build a board and stun deck, and then hopefully you can just win. And I feel like there's just a lot of things like problems with the deck inherently, because once your opponent outs your initial board, you really don't have that many more plays after that, besides maybe like searching off a Thunder Dragon Fusion and going. But if they outed the whole board, then you kind of already lost at that point. Okay, moving on to the next deck, and the last deck in tier 1, and I have Isolde combo. If anybody knows, I'm lumping all these decks up together. I still think they're tier 1 because they're still really consistent. With the addition of Neo Space Connector, it's absolutely insane. These decks still really good. They kind of make Rongo, or they make the FTK. There's just so many different things. Or Gumbler, you for like 5 or 6, or like whatever, however they do it. So it's a lot of fun. Psych, no, that deck's not any fun, but it's still around and it's still here to play. All right, guys. Here we have the Trickstars in tier 2. I think this deck is still good. I think it's just power crept. It's just not as good as the other decks, and it can still do some things though, for sure. All right, next up in tier 2 is True Draco, and I think this deck is like it's still very consistent. We still have Demise at 3, we still have Diagram at 3. It's still really good. It's just missing Masterpiece. Plus they can run like all the floodgates that hurt all the decks, so I think that's very good for it as well. But I don't really see it doing a whole much else. I don't think it's gonna dominate the format. I don't think anyone thinks it's gonna dominate the format, but the floodgates definitely help it out a lot. Okay, and the next one here is one that is debatable, and it is Prank Kids. And Prank Kids is, I don't know if it really deserves to be tier 2. I definitely think it deserves to be tier 3, and I know it definitely doesn't deserve to be tier 1. Yes, it won my YCS Milan. Wow, I cannot talk. Yes, it won my YCS Milan, but it's largely due to the fact that like nobody really knew what the deck did. They weren't prepared for it. They just weren't expecting it. I don't think it's gonna really do that much more again. I think it's gonna kind of fall down into the tier 3, where it's a decent deck because it can link climb so easily, but it's not doing that much in the meta really. And then the last one here, this one is debatable as well. Burning Abyss. Now they didn't actually have, I don't think, any Burning Abyss players in the top at YCS Milan, but I feel like Burning Abyss is one of those decks that it will always innovate and always come back and always be good in some way, shape, or form. It just might not be really good right now. I definitely think the deck still is playable. The danger support is still insanely good. Snake does a lot for that deck, as well as Jackalope. If you know, I really like the danger variants of the deck. It's actually really good. So I definitely think Burning Abyss is still a tier 2 deck, despite it not really topping the YCS at all. But we never really expect too many tops out of the tier 2 decks besides 1 or 2. So that's what that is. And then tier 3, these ones don't take take this like tier 3 with a grain of salt. But first one, we have pendulum variants. You guys know I hate pendulums, and as long as the pendulum mechanic's a thing, I kind of always think like pendulums are gonna be a threat. Like obviously, I always want to take any pendulum deck I play seriously, just because I know I feel that like that mechanic's unfair, so I feel like I always have to play my best when somebody's using that mechanic. So I definitely think this is a threat. Next one is Paleo Frog. This one's mostly in here because I always lose at regionals to this one, and the only 2 regionals I haven't topped this season, both my my second losses have been from Paleo. So that's what I have to say about that one. But this deck's good. Trap Trick came out recently, and it's just really good. You know, obviously not up to the standard of other decks, but it can do what it does decently well. And then the one like last kind of serious one here I have on here is Invoked Mech Knight. I think this deck is still good. I don't know where it really went. It felt like just everyone kind of stopped playing it. I definitely think it's still really good though. They have a lot of options. They have a lot of plays. They can make negate boards, or they can go on the offense. I really like it. So I think this deck could do well. We just don't see it doing too much in the meta right now. And the last one we kind of put on here for lols, and for lols, it's ABC Dragon Buster, or ABCs, guys. I don't know why I said Dragon Buster. Probably because I was reading the card. But ABCs, this deck, I don't think this deck's anything great right now. It's kind of just on here because A went to 1, and I just realized I'm going to have to fix my format thing up there. But A went to 1, and it's just kind of funny. ABC players at least can play their deck again. I don't think this deck is anything too good right now, because I feel like the other hits to the meta just have hit it equally. Terraforming the 2 actually really hurts this deck, because they really need their Union Hanger. So I definitely think that like this deck is okay, but it's one of those things where support comes around and it's always going to be somewhat good. I feel like this deck is just really good just because the power of ABC Buster, Dragon Buster is absolutely insane. But that's what I have to say about the meta. Like I said, guys, this is just my opinion, and if I missed some decks, I am so sorry. There might have been some stuff I missed, like the Makiashi stuff, but besides that, I don't really have too much else to talk about. I feel like these are like the decks I'm on the lookout for every time I'm going to locals or going to a regionals. These are the ones I'm kind of spotting, keeping my eye out for, because we don't really want to lose to them. Anyway, guys, please comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any arguments, if you think that any of these just are completely wrong. Let me know in the comment section below. Alright, guys, we'll talk to you later. See ya.